There's speaking Spanish. Nice. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Run the Nation right here, TOT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got a great show for you guys today. We've got some topics. Yes, we're going to get into Michael Cohen stuff, Trump stuff, of course. Hey, it's the 1 year of the Mueller investigation. Let's check into that. Then we also have Rex Tillerson. He's back. And ice. No, not like Arctic sea ice or anything, which is, there's not going to be any left soon. Or at least, well, okay. Anyway, climate change is terrible. No, we'll be talking about immigration and what they're doing to try and deport people who don't deserve it. These are dreamers. These aren't people that are undocumented immigrants. They're dreamers. They're DACA recipients. And one, of course, well, I'm going to tell you that story because it's amazing what they're doing to try to get rid of people. Thanks to Trump. So ICE, oh boy, quite a story. Okay, anyway, without giving away too much. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good show, so stick around for the next hour. If you want to support the show, of course, you can use the super chat, ask me questions, give me comments, etc. through the show. That's the way that you can help us. Also, patreon.com/TYTNation. I want to thank the patrons, of course, for supporting the show. Also, please make sure to like and share. That helps out a ton. Gets it out to new people, which, of course, is a huge problem with the recent YouTube changes. So if you can do that, that really helps us out. Okay. Anyway, a lot of interesting stuff going on today. I mean, there is, of course, there's the Mueller stuff, which I think is very interesting. There's a farm bill. There are all sorts of stuff going on today. There's a volcano that's literally exploding right now, going off, erupting, whatever you want to call it, in Hawaii. So that's been causing a lot of damage over the last few days, but it just erupted today. I thought it had been erupting before, but I haven't been following it too closely. But a lot of devastation, a lot of damage going on there. So that sucks. And you know, any of you guys who are in the area, please stay safe. That's all I'm saying. Please stay safe. All right. Anyway, so why don't we get started here on the first story? As I said, I've got a lot to go through, so let's get into it. Okay. Okay. We got a net neutrality story to talk about. So yesterday, the Senate voted 52-47 to block the FCC's repeal of net neutrality rules. Now, of course, the FCC under Trump appointee Ajit Pai. Ajit Pai was on the FCC before. He was appointed there by Obama because I guess the rules mandate that you have to appoint somebody, two people, two Democrats, two Republicans, and whoever and the president gets to pick the chairman of the FCC. So Ajit Pai was one of the commissioners, and when Trump got into office, he appointed him as the head of the FCC. Now, he chose him because he wanted to eliminate net neutrality rules. That's been a big Republican dream because that helps out the donors, as you're going to see. Now, Pai, of course, voted to rescind those rules, despite those rules being incredibly popular with both Democrats and Republicans. The majority of both party voters said, net neutrality rules, yes, we actually like those rules because we actually like the internet to be free and fair and open. Not only that, but look, net neutrality had the rare distinction of being supported by big corporations as well. You had Google, Netflix, Mozilla, and numerous small businesses that also signed on to try to protect net neutrality. And of course, on the side of Ajit Pai, you pretty much had all the telecommunications companies, AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, who had in the past been caught trying to block and throttle and create paid prioritization lanes, and had been stopped by the FCC before. So that's why in 2015, we decided we had to codify these rules. And the Republicans always bring it back to, well, and net neutrality didn't exist before 2015, so this is just big government overreach. No, it's not, you idiots. This is the government, or this was the government back in 2015 saying, look at all the times that these companies have tried to breach the idea of net neutrality, which the internet was founded on. The founders of the internet were like, let's make sure the government treats all content equally, and that the ISPs, the literal pipelines to the internet, are also treating every piece of content, a piece of data that goes through the same. Well, these companies are like, no, we can actually make an extra buck doing all this other stuff, this, paid fast lanes and all this stuff, and then maybe a little blocking and throttle for my competitors who have competitive streaming services. Yeah, no, there's money to be made. You get the hell out of the way. So that was what Ajit Pai's job was, is to basically roll that back, and he was able to do so in a 3-2 vote. Now, what happened yesterday then? I thought this situation was over. Well, it turns out that Senate Democrats, along with a couple of Republicans, decided, what we're going to do is that we're going to pass a resolution of disapproval. Now, that is actually part of the Congressional Review Act. Now, what is the Congressional Review Act? Well, basically, what they can do is that Congress, using the Congressional Review Act, can invalidate a ruling by any government agency, such as, in this case, the FCC, and prevent similar rules from being put into place in the future. So this had been used widely during the Trump administration by Republicans to eliminate regulations on, for example, dumping coal ash into rivers and other environmental regulations. So they use the Congressional Review Act to eliminate those regulations and prevent similar regulations from being put into place. Now, the Democrats have decided, what would be a great idea, especially when it comes to elections, since this is such a popular issue. Let's actually try to let's use the Congressional Review Act this time for something good, to restore net neutrality. Well, it's a fantastic idea, and it actually shows the Democrats attempting to run on something. So that's exactly what they did. Now, every single Democrat, and several Republicans decided to join in to try to pass this resolution. Now, I got to give credit to these Republicans. Again, this was mainly a Democratic effort led by Ed Markey. This is his bill. But joining him is Suzanne Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Okay, so those are pretty familiar Democrats, Republicans who are the so-called moderates, right? Okay, good. That's good to see them. But we also have John Kennedy of Louisiana. Well, that's an unexpected vote. Well, good to have you, John Kennedy. No, look, I don't agree with these Republicans on much, if anything. But you know what? I have to thank them for doing the right thing right now. Wonderful. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to go through and thank all of the Democrats for voting in favor of this. Again, this is good for re-election. What I want to do is actually want to point out the people, some of them who voted against net neutrality, and then I'm going to show you why. Now, first off, we have Republican Roy Blunt. Now, Roy Blunt from Missouri. Now, he voted against net neutrality. He thinks corporations should be able to control what you see on the internet, and they should be able to charge you more for access to the same kind of websites, that you had been previously not having to pay extra for. So basically, Roy Blunt is a fucking asshole. I'm just going to put it out there. He is a corporate stooge. He is a goddamn tool, just like Ajit Pai. Now, let me show you the reason that Roy Blunt is a corporate tool. And it has to do with how much he received from the telecommunications industry. He received $1,283,416 in legal campaign bribes from the telecommunications industry. So That's in total donations. So look, that's like super PACs, PACs, and what is it? Independent expenditures, campaign contributions, whatever you want to call it. It's legal bribery, and it went right into the pockets of Roy Blunt to help him win a campaign. Now, the next biggest is Mitch McConnell. So he is, of course, the Senate Majority Leader. He received about $1,119,163 from that very same industry. And, of course, he got all that money to vote against net neutrality. Next, we have John Thune, who received $928,428. Richard Burr with $733,127. Chuck Grassley, $727,219. Orrin Hatch, $677,830. John Cornyn with about $600,000. Cory Gardner with just over $500,000. Thad Cochran, $516,000. Good old Lindsey Graham, who wasn't met a war he doesn't like, and loves taking money from corporations, received $485,442. Marco Rubio, who got challenged about taking NRA donations, also has been taking telecommunications donations and to the tune of $391,679. Ted Cruz, of course, called it Obamacare of the Internet in referring to net neutrality, took $322,505 in legal bribes. Jeff Flake, so-called hero of the Democratic resistance, took $268,500. Rand Paul, Libertarian Supreme, took $116,278 to allow corporations to charge you more, block and throttle and censor. Hey, Rand, I thought you were against censorship, you fuckface. And Ben Sass, classy Ben Sassy, as some people like to call him, took $75,950. And famous hog collar or hog deballer Joni Ernst took $44,500. Obviously, that's not all the Republicans in the Senate that took money, but you get the point. Joni Ernst, by the way, she was bought for less than 50 grand. These politicians go real cheap. I mean, look, the return on investment for these companies, as you can see, I mean, yes, the more powerful Republican you get, the more obviously it costs to bribe them. But you've got Joni Ernst over here getting $44,000, $44,500, and of course, most of them getting just under $1 million from this industry. Kind of shows you, look, even though it seems like a lot of money is spent lobbying, in reality, they spend this much money because they know they're going to get an excellent return on investment. They know that bribing our politicians will be well worth the money spent. They're going to make billions of dollars from the repeal of net neutrality. And so, look, that's why they're voting against it. That's why a lot of Republicans in the House, which is, again, Republican-dominated, are probably going to vote against this this CRA, this resolution of disapproval, and ultimately, why Donald Trump will likely repeal, or I'm sorry, not repeal, will likely veto this if it ever gets to him. So it's all about the money. This is why money in politics matters. This is why we have to fight back against the corruption and get our democracy back. Because in a democracy, something as popular as net neutrality rules, as the whole idea that all our content should be treated equally and fairly on the internet without being slowed down or blocked or throttled, is an idea that should be in place. But because we have a corrupt government, because we live in an oligarchy, because we have corporate control over almost every facet of our lives, is it any surprise that the corporations will always win when it comes to policy over the will of the American people? We've got to fix this system. We've got to get the money out. Okay. I'm in one of those kind of moods today where I am just pissed off. So this should be fun. Okay. Now, let's get to the little anniversary for President Trump. It's been a year since the Mueller investigation was launched with the goal of finding out whether or not the president colluded with the Russians to try and steal our democracy or steal the election from Hillary Clinton. Now, you guys know my thoughts about that. Hillary Clinton lost the election. I think she still probably would have lost the election without Russian interference, which took the form of a lot of dank memes and social media posts that, you know, riled people up, all that. That's fine, but Hillary Clinton was not an engaging, exciting candidate. So you know my stance on that. I think she basically screwed up in many, many different ways, did not campaign in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and she didn't inspire a whole lot of people. But nonetheless, Russia did try to influence in our elections, and they did try to interfere. And so that is something that we should look into, whether or not a sitting president of the United States did get help from a foreign country. I don't care if it's Russia. I don't care if it's Israel. I don't care if it's Turkey. I don't care if it's Mexico. I don't care if it's Canada. Think about it. I mean, sure, it would probably be great if Canada tried to influence an election, because then it is possible that we might get somebody who actually does competent and popular things. Nonetheless, sorry, Canadians, I love you guys, but don't interfere in our elections, please. And that goes for the United States, too. Hey, United States government, stop interfering in other people's elections. Thanks, that'd be great. So everybody stop interfering in elections. Okay, anyway. Now, going back to Trump and the Mueller investigation, well, since we started looking into that, we found out that, yes, there was an attempt at influencing the election, as I just mentioned. And we found out that a lot of people in Trump's orbit just happen to have connections to foreign governments, Ukraine and Russia, right? And even took foreign money without disclosing it, had lobbied on behalf of foreign governments and without telling us. And, of course, we also learned that Trump Jr. had signaled a willingness to collude for information with Russian oligarchs. So basically, in an effort to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. Okay, we all know that, right? We've had 19 indictments and 4 convictions so far. You can't say that that's all fake news, okay? Now, because of that, it appears there seems to be a little bit of something to this investigation. Now, that has Trump a little bit concerned. And of course, when that happens, when Trump gets concerned, when he wants to distract, well then, here come the baseless allegations. This time, of course, Trump goes back to a favorite. They wiretapped me. They're spying on me. Oh my God. In an early morning Twitter tirade, I'm not sure quite how to say that, President Trump went back to a standby. Let's blame the fucking black guy. Here we go. And by the way, the first tweet was misspelled, which is always awesome. But it says, wow, word seems to be coming out that the Obama FBI spied on the Trump campaign with an embedded informant. Now, where in the hell is he getting this information? Oh, right. Fox News. Quoting a former federal prosecutor interviewed on Fox News earlier Thursday morning, the president continued, Andrew McCarthy says there's probably no doubt that they had at least one confidential informant in the campaign. If so, this is bigger than Watergate. So Andrew McCarthy says, I think they have somebody embedded in the Trump campaign. And that's how they know all this stuff. That isn't true. But they spied on Trump. They spied on Trump. Based on what evidence? Well, the Fox News guy said it. It must be true. Here's the reality, right? So, no, they didn't have anyone embedded in the Trump campaign that we know of. They also didn't wiretap Trump. They didn't wiretap Cohen either. So here's a correction. Here's where I got it wrong. Now, I did a story a couple weeks ago where basically NBC News had claimed, well, we have information where we have wiretapped Trump. Wiretapped Cohen. And we saw that Cohen had gotten calls from the White House. Well, that's not actually true. Now, I reported that wrong information. Here's a correction, right? Now, what actually happened is that Cohen's phones were subject to something called a pen register, which allows investigators to create a log of phone calls associated with Michael Cohen's number. So, yes, you can see who they called, but you can't actually see what they said or hear what they said or get any sort of information other than who they called. Pretty different than a wiretap. So, is it surveillance? Well, this is surveillance on Michael Cohen, not on the Trump campaign. And Michael Cohen, of course, is under investigation for bank fraud, wire fraud, all sorts of different things that could land him in some serious shit. None of that is close to what President Trump is alleging. That Obama spied on the Trump campaign. That's just not true. And you know what? You know what we call things that aren't true? Lies, lies, and damn lies. Okay. Now, and in this case, of course, this is a distraction from the very real investigation that happens to go on into his campaign. Now, look, if he did nothing wrong, which is a possibility, and it was just the actions of everyone around him, okay, it seems unlikely, but okay. Well, here's the thing. If you did nothing wrong, if you're not guilty, then don't act guilty, right? Innocent people don't try to distract others with lies. And that's what this is. This is a pure distraction. This is, oh my God, it's been 1 year of the Mueller investigation. We have 19 indictments, 4 convictions. We have people that are, again, under investigation for some very, very serious crimes that are facing serious jail time, prison time. That's that's pretty significant. That's not a witch hunt, as they're saying. So, look, the best way to deal with the investigation is to just maintain, hey, I didn't do anything, and to stop trying to distract and trying to stop Mueller from doing his job. Because again, if you have nothing to hide, then what's the big deal? I would expect the Mueller investigation to continue. And as it continues to go on, my personal opinion, I expect Trump to get more and more paranoid and more desperate, because I think at the end of the day, he did do something wrong, and he desperately does not want it to get out. Okay. Moving on. Now, the Michael Cohen scandal just got a little bit more complicated and troublesome for the guy who is known as Donald Trump's fixer. Well, looks like he can't fix this one. According to the New Yorker, Cohen's shell company had took in more than $4 million. Now, his company, and of course, is a shell company. That's the same company that he used to pay out money to Stormy Daniels and now actually a couple of other women who have also gotten paid off as part of Cohen's fixing for Donald Trump. Now, this company, as I said before, he claims, no, what it was is that I took in money for consulting. Really? Well, we'll get into the details on that. But first, that $4 million, most of it happens to be from foreign sources. So that's the news story today. Now, we've learned this, what we've learned apparently comes from something called the Suspicious Activity Report, filed by a bank with the Treasury Department. So these disclosures, this is a bank saying, look, we're seeing all these weird transactions going between this, these people and this specific company, which only seems to exist on paper. That's weird. What's going on here? That's suspicious. Now, the report detailed $1 million in deposits into the company that Cohen told the bank was for real estate consulting. However, bank officers reported that the deposits came from entities with no apparent connection to real estate or apparent need to engage Cohen as a real estate consultant. And by the way, Cohen isn't a real estate guy. He's a personal injury lawyer. Maybe that's his side gig. I don't know. Certainly that's what Hannity claims he's into. That's what Hannity is like. No, you don't understand. Cohen, I consulted him for real estate. I'm a real estate guy. Well, it turns out, we find out later that Hannity's a bit of a terrible landlord. But anyway, now, what's funny is that if this money is not for consulting, then what is it for? Well, that is curious. That is a little suspicious. Now, the official also told the New Yorker that two other suspicious activity reports, not previously reported on, showed another $3 million in deposits to Cohen's company. All three reports were sent by the bank to the Treasury Department's Criminal Bureau. Now, the official said he was motivated to share the first report because the first two other ones are not in the database of the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Now, he noticed that, and he's like, wait a minute. Those two reports, those are not there. That is really weird. I wonder if they're trying to cover it up. In fact, the official said, I decided to link this because I thought that the government might try to cover this up. Holy shit. If you have the Trump government that decides to willingly try to cover up this suspicious deposits into Cohen's shell company, which only exists on paper, which isn't a real company, which doesn't actually do consulting. Again, it's just a front in order to funnel money. Well, then that is huge. That is huge, which makes it worse. Of course, other than just that, because that's bad enough. They find that a significant portion of deposits to Cohen's company were also derived from foreign entities. Now, look, we talked earlier about the $150,000 payment from South Korean aerospace firm, right? Now, the FBI is now investigating that and whether or not that was actually used because, Korea Aerospace Industries, right? That's the company. They have they're partnered with Lockheed Martin. That's a defense contractor, and they're trying to get a $16 million contract to provide jets to the Air Force. So if they paid Cohen, which they did, and they admit that they paid Cohen, for access to the president in order to try to get this deal approved, well, that seems like it would be illegal. That seems like it would be a bit of a problem. Buying access or selling access to foreign companies, to foreign entities. Now, a translator for Korea Aerospace Industries told the Washington Post that the firm paid Cohen's company for legal advice about U.S. accounting procedures. That seems curious. What does Cohen know about government accounting? Nothing. Look, here's the thing. We know what this is about. We know this is about selling access. Now, KIA doesn't want to get in trouble and doesn't want to lose their ability to get a contract. So that's why they're saying, no. We just want information about U.S. accounting. No, we're not buying access at all. Nobody believes that. How do you get Trump to approve your deal? Well, you put money into his pocket, and you probably stroke his ego a little bit. Now, how do you funnel money into his pocket? Well, you do it through, apparently, a lawyer's shell corporation. Now, the other possibility, of course, is that maybe Trump didn't know anything about this. That is unlikely, but okay. This could be just Cohen saying, look, I have access to the president. Why don't you just pay me? I mean, then I will make sure to present you to the president. And that is possibly what happened. And it's also possible that Trump knew about it as well and didn't receive any money. Either way, it's very, very shady and possibly illegal. Anyway, there is more. Cohen also allegedly asked for foreign money from a Qatari investor during a meeting in Trump Tower during the presidential transition period. Boy, this sounds a lot like what Jared Kushner had also done. Kushner went and asked the Qatari government for an investment into one of his failing buildings. So this is one of those buildings that he has in New York City, which he invested greatly in, and he needs more money to finish that investment, to be able to make money off that investment. So he goes to the Qatari government. He says, well, give me some money. Well, the Qatari government said no. And then a little bit later, the Trump administration just happened to support the Saudi blockade of Qatar. Interesting. Now, of course, that's Kushner. Cohen also asked money from Qatari investors. Ahmad al-Rumai, who was the head of the $100 billion Qatari investment fund, told The Intercept that he asked Cohen what U.S. projects the fund should back in December of 2016. Now, Cohen asked first for an upfront fee of $1 million. No. Okay, anyway. Not very much, but nonetheless. He's like, no, you want to talk to me? You're going to give me $1 million. Well, Rumahi said, you know what? I'm not going to pay you guys. This is ridiculous. This is like extortion. No, I'm not going to do that. Now, he said he didn't pay Cohen, and Cohen denied that he even asked for the money. But look, in this situation, I actually believe a Qatari investor far more than I believe Michael Cohen, because again, he is, just like his boss, a serial liar. Now, so, look, overall, this goes far beyond Stormy Daniels, and so that's what's so fascinating about this. I know a lot of people are like, stop talking about Stormy Daniels. This situation is not about Stormy Daniels. This is about selling access. This is about a trail of corruption leading to Michael Cohen and ultimately to Donald Trump. I mean, here you have payoffs for access and Cohen possibly misrepresenting himself to a lot of these corporations who admit that they gave money to Cohen's firm and tried to do business with Cohen's firm in order to sell access to the president. They're like, no, we want to buy access to to Donald Trump and his administration. Oh, Michael Cohen, you are selling that access to me? Okay, name your price and I will give you money so that we can have our concerns heard by the current administration. This is corruption. This is incredible corruption. Now let me go to where it gets to Trump. Now recently, new information also came out about Cohen that undercut Trump's claims that he had nothing to do with Daniels or Russia during the campaign. Oh, that's interesting. Now, to go into where this basically shows that Donald Trump is a pathological liar. On Wednesday, Trump filed a financial disclosure form that said he fully reimbursed Cohen in 2017 for expenses incurred in 2016. That would be the Stormy Daniels payment that he swore that he knew nothing about. What are you talking about? I never reimbursed Cohen for Stormy Daniels. He paid that money out of his own pocket for months and months and months. He lied about those payments. And then, of course, he pulls out a financial disclosure form that says the complete opposite. Oh, that repayment. Oh, completely slipped my mind. Didn't I had no idea. Looks like I did reimburse Cohen for that payment to a porn star. Oops. Maybe I was thinking of the other porn stars, or maybe I was thinking of the other people that I fucking gypped. Serial liar. 100% fabricated. Anyway, he is the prince of prevarication. There's more. Cohen was also pursuing a deal to build Trump Tower in Moscow after Trump got the Republican nomination in the spring of 2016. So, now, why is this important? Well, this comes as, well, it actually shows, again, that Trump was lying about Russian connection. Because Trump denied that he had any business dealings in Russia that very summer. Now, again, spring, right? So, in spring, Cohen is pursuing this deal. In the summer, he says, oh, no, I absolutely have no business dealings in Russia. But wait. No, Cohen was working on that deal. He was working on that Trump Tower deal. So, well past what he said, what Trump had actually said that he was working on that deal. So, look, that counts as business, right? Now, what's more is that Cohen, of course, lied to Congress. He told congressional investigators that he stopped pursuing the project in January 2016, but text messages between Cohen and his former business associate, Felix Sater, showed the effort lasted into May of 2016. Sater told Cohen that high-level figures in Russia needed to be involved because a project of this magnitude could not be completed without Putin's approval. Around the start of that year, Cohen became frustrated because Sater had not been able to set up the necessary meetings with those Russians. Cohen swore at Sater and said he would make his own high-level contacts within Russia. So, look, that actually does help the Trump campaign in a way, right? Well, because I wasn't able to take meetings with Putin. I tried to set him up to help Donald Trump in his business dealings to try and get that, hotel built. But I couldn't get a hold of him. And well, again, that actually does help his collusion case, but also still looks really bad for Cohen because he's out there lying to federal investigators, to Congress. That's not good. That means Cohen is in a world of trouble. Not only did he take suspicious payments from foreign governments and tried to sell access to the president, but while acting as a lawyer for the Trump organization during the campaign, was trying to do deals with Russia and then lied about it to Congress. That all looks really bad for Michael Cohen. You know what I want to say? Lock him up. Say it with me. Lock him up. Lock him up. Round the nation. We'll be right back. Still more fun than a Fortnite stream. Although I still might try it. everybody, welcome back to the show. I know you could hear me during that. I was actually doing that to see if you could still do that, even though I muted all the stuff. So I've got some weird sound issues going on since the update. So that's strange. Anyway, got a couple more stories for you guys today. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. Actually, no, not fun. But anyway, let's get into the stories here. First, before I do that, I want to read a couple of super chats for you guys. And from you guys, Platypie just doesn't say anything. That's fine. Coffee Crow says Alex Scarlatos, the Paris train hero, is running for Douglas County Commissioner in Oregon. Many of the older folks here already said that they'll vote for him simply because of the train thing. Luckily, everyone my age is inquiring on his ideas. I think that's really important. So a lot of people see one good thing that somebody does, and says, "Oh, well, I'm going to vote for him based on that." Yeah, but maybe you should also take a look at policy, because policy is actually really important. They may be a hero, and have done a lot of things, or have done something excellent, but could still hold views that aren't necessarily your own. So, yeah, okay. At least you want to look into it. So, that's a good point. Okay, anyway. So, thank you for supporting the show, by the way. That's how you can support us through the Super Chat. Another way to support us is through Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation. Okay. Anyway. Let's move forward. We got a lot of story left, and we're probably going to end up going over. So, to which something my friend always gets mad at me for. Anyway. Okay. So Rex Tillerson was the Secretary of State under Donald Trump until he was unceremoniously fired like so many others. Earlier today, I was watching a video where they were talking about all the different people fired under the Trump administration. And I was like, Jesus, good Lord. Look at all those people that got fired. I mean, the turnover rate here is, in Trump's words, tremendous. Tremendous turnover. Which, by the way, I love turnovers. Just go off topic for a second there. But anyway, it's really hard to keep track of all the different firings and resignations that have happened since Trump got into office. There have been so many of them. But his Secretary of State is a fairly big one, because the Secretary of State is an important position. Now, look, now that Tillerson is out of the administration, he's decided to warn the next generation of leaders about people like his former boss. This is interesting. Now, in a commencement address at the Virginia Military Institute in Lexington, Virginia, Tillerson told the crowd that Americans had a responsibility to confront leaders who mislead the public or promote realities that are no longer grounded in facts. Wow. He said, if our leaders seek to conceal the truth, or we as people become accepting of alternative realities, or maybe alternative facts, if Kellyanne Conway were here, that are no longer grounded in facts, then we as American citizens are on a pathway to relinquishing our freedom. Instead, he said, Americans should seek fact-based society rather than one based on wishful thinking and hope for outcomes made in shallow promises. Wow. How bad is it when Rex frickin' Tillerson is actually sounding reasonable? How low can you go? Apparently, really low. He continues. If we do not, as Americans, confront the crisis of ethics and integrity in our society and among our leaders in both the public and private sector, and regrettably at times even the nonprofit sector, then American democracy as we know it is entering its twilight years. That is a very interesting statement coming from Rex Tillerson. Now, as far as American democracy entering its twilight years. No, I think we're already there. We're an oligarchy. Tillerson is actually a great example of that. While running ExxonMobil, his company lied about climate change. They funded politicians that worked against doing something about climate change. Rex Tillerson was part of the problem. Rex Tillerson, his company was funding fake news, funding think tanks. I mean, look, these politicians would take money from these think tanks funded by corporations, ExxonMobil or Koch Industries, that would go and peddle this bullshit about, oh no, climate change, it's not happening. Or, well, climate change is happening, but it's not man-made. We can continue to put more carbon into the atmosphere. It's fine. It's fine. So excuse me if I don't think that Rex Tillerson is qualified to talk about any of this stuff. Nonetheless, he is actually right. Now, to go back to Tillerson here, he had no business being the Secretary of State, by the way. No experience, no diplomatic experience. The only reason that he was there, I think, is to facilitate oil deals. Look, that's what Hillary Clinton was doing, except that she was promoting fracking all over the world. Rex Tillerson was there to promote oil all over the world. Now, he wanted to make an oil deal, especially with Russia. Now, Russia, by the way, look, was stopped on this $500 billion oil deal thanks to the Obama sanctions, right? So this oil deal did not go through. And Congress actually passed more sanctions on Russia. And by the way, Trump continues to try to not implement these sanctions despite a congressional veto. Or, here's Congress saying, no, you must do these sanctions. You have no choice. We can outvote you. We can force you to do these sanctions. Donald Trump still refuses to do that. Now, of course, the only reason that Tillerson was there fell apart, so they replaced him. And now they replaced him with Mike Pompeo. Now, Mike Pompeo is dangerous. Dangerous because he wants more war. He wants war with Iran. Now, Tillerson, as I said, he was freaking terrible, but to his credit, he didn't actually want war with Iran. All he wanted to do was make more money for his company, which for some reason that seems better, but it is better than causing a war with Iran. So, look, Pompeo is one of those guys that wanted to rip up the Iran deal. And guess what? We ripped up the Iran deal. And now things are going to get worse. We alienated our allies in Germany, France, and the UK. And we might be responsible now for putting Iran not only on the back on the path to getting a nuclear weapon, but also, as I did a story before, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia says, well, if Iran gets a nuke, then we're going to get a nuke. And now here we have a nuclear arms race. Now it all depends on whether or not Iran stays in the deal with the rest of the EU. Now, as a final terrible response, we also emboldened the mullahs. I don't like the mullahs. I have no love for the mullahs. I have no love for the extremists. The Iran deal was a victory for the moderates. The mullahs and the extremists throughout the whole thing said, no. America, we should not make a deal with America. We should get a nuclear weapon because America can't be trusted. They can't be trusted not to invade us and not to fuck with us. We need a nuclear weapon. So, guess who proved them right? Donald Trump. Now, finally, Tillerson, back to him. He wants to address fake news. Now, this is good. He said that Americans need to confront false information when they see it, and argues that a failing to do so would erode American democracy and transform the U.S. into a more repressive society, similar to Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Quote, we do not have to look far to find examples of the cost to individuals and to society when integrity is sacrificed for immediate gain or personal achievement. Sean Hannity. Just saying. Such damage strikes at the very heart of a free society. It undermines the public trust in institutions and the overwhelming number of individuals, organizations who do live and compete by the rules every day. Again, he's right. And it's been going on, by the way, a lot longer than Trump. Trump is just the newest iteration of an issue that we have had for a long time. And that is the corruption. That is the issue of corporate control of the government. We also the issue of corporate news and a corporate news media that panders and peddles. And on the issue, for example, for Fox News, that peddles disinformation to their viewers, and some on the left that also peddle disinformation to their viewers as well, in order to make money. So, look, there's a lot of problems. It happened before Trump, but Trump is actually one of the biggest examples of the problem because it's right in your face. Now, a good example of the problem is people like Rex Tillerson. He is a big part of the problem because, as I mentioned before, he helped fund that fake news into climate change so that he could make more money for himself and his corporation. He sacrificed the truth. That truth that burning carbon has an impact on the climate for personal gain. That comes with an enormous cost. That cost is going to be borne by the poorest first before it comes to the rest of us. And by then, it's too late to make a difference. And Rex Tillerson and the politicians, they help build that. So overall, my point is, he can be right. And what he's saying about President Trump and the Trump administration, without actually naming them, is correct. But also, he's an incredible hypocrite. Again, he avoids calling out Trump because Trump will likely retaliate against him and his business. But make no mistake, Tillerson knows he's done wrong. He knows his own sins. But Trump has him so worried about the entire United States that he actually is calling out the administration in whatever way he can. And look, if somebody like Tillerson is concerned about what's going on, well, then that says a lot. Okay, one more story here. And here's another reason to be worried. All right. Now, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, also known as ICE, was recently handed a huge defeat after it attempted to deport a dreamer. Now, Slate is reporting that on Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Ricardo S. Martinez shot down the federal government's effort to strip Daniel Ramirez Medina of his DACA status. So he is a DACA recipient, which means he came here, illegally. His parent brought him into the country as an undocumented immigrant, but he was eligible under the Obama administration's DACA program to live and work in the United States. Now, there's some stringent requirements for DACA. You have to obviously not be a criminal, not have a record, not be affiliated with any gangs, have a job, or be in school. So those are the requirements, and they have to check in with the government every so often in order to verify that that all is still true. Now, ICE had arrested and detained Ramirez last year, and then falsely claimed that he was affiliated with a gang so that they could deport him. So again, that's one of the things that you can't do. You obviously can't be involved in violence or criminal activity, which of course, gangs, I mean, that's what they do. Now, they tried to strip him of that DACA protections as well. And of course, if you don't have DACA protections, you can't live and work in the United States. So, and since the government knows where you are, where you live, what you do, they can easily come in, they can arrest you and deport you. That's what happened to Ramirez. Well, they tried anyway. They tried to do this to Ramirez. Now, since he ended up filing suit, alleging that ICE had violated his due process rights, went into court, and the judge found that, no, I actually agree with you. They did violate your due process. And in the end, barred the federal government from voiding Ramirez's DACA status. So that actually turned out to be pretty good. Now, the details here are actually incredibly disturbing, and it shows a pattern of what ICE has been trying to regularly do. Target Latinos, claim that they are in gangs, and as an effort to deport them. Now, let me tell you the story here. Now, it starts in February of last year, when ICE agents went to Ramirez's father's house in Seattle to arrest him. Now, Ramirez's father is an undocumented immigrant. So, has he been convicted of any crimes? No, but Donald Trump said, I'm going to come after the Mexicans. I'm going to come after the undocumented immigrants. I'm going to come after the illegals. I'm going to kick them all out. But wait, I thought you were just going to go after the quote-unquote bad hombres. No, he said he was going to be monstrous and go after everyone. So, and that's what he's doing. Don't be surprised when he does exactly what he says he's going to do in the most monstrous ways possible. Now, when they went to arrest Ramirez's father, they encountered Ramirez and asked him whether he was legally here or not. Well, in the case of him, he's a DACA recipient, so he says, no, I am here legally. And by the way, look, I've got my work permit. Now, what happened? Well, they took him they arrested him anyway, right? They brought him to a processing center. Again, throughout the whole thing, he's saying, look, I've got my permit. I got my papers. I'm here legally. I am a DACA recipient. I have renewed with the government. My paperwork should be in order. So, allegedly, an agent had replied to it, quote, it doesn't matter. You weren't born here in this country. Therefore, you gotta go. Which, of course, look, DACA says, no, you actually can stay. You may not be a citizen here, but you are protected. You are a dreamer. You're protected from deportation. They don't care. They don't care. He was then interrogated, fingerprinted, and booked. His work permit confiscated, and he was sent to a deportation center to await deportation. Or, I'm sorry, sent to a detention center. Now, normally the government cannot just rescind an individual's DACA status without giving the beneficiary an opportunity to contest its decision. In this case, they did not. They immediately took away his DACA status and prepared him for deportation. Now, how can they do this? Well, ICE claimed that his DACA benefits could be terminated because he presented, quote, an egregious public safety concern. Well, that sounds real strange. For one, in order to be a DACA recipient, you can't be a criminal. I said that earlier. Well, nonetheless, ICE claims that he had gang affiliation. Well, where's the evidence? Well, there wasn't any evidence. Turns out ICE routinely alleges Latino immigrants that Latino immigrants with no gang affiliation, no evidence of gang affiliation, are affiliated with gangs anyway. Why? Because they want to deport them. So they do this all the time. Now, again, this is against due process. This is against the rule of law. I thought you believed in the rule of law. I thought President Trump, the Republicans, and ICE were the arbiters of the rule of law. That they stood up for it. No. No, of course they don't. They don't care. Now, of course, Trump and a lot of Republicans will justify it, saying that, no, you don't understand. We're doing the right thing because DACA is unconstitutional. I mean, look at the way that Trump is challenging it. Well, it's still caught up in court. And so far, DACA recipients are safe. Now, of course, Ramirez, not happy about this. decides, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this to court. So he did. And during the court proceeding, one of Ramirez's lawyer, Mark Rosenbaum, presented evidence indicating that ICE had doctored Ramirez's statement by erasing words he had written in the pencil provided to make it seem as if he had confessed to being in a gang. Now, the original statement says that he has no gang affiliation. During his initial interrogation, ICE officers asked him 5 times whether or not he belonged to a gang, and he repeatedly said no. He instead said, look, I had fled California to Washington to escape from the gangs in California. Hey, man, look, I don't want to be in that area, so I'm going to go to Seattle. I'm going to go to Washington where there are no gangs. Well, what did ICE do? Apparently they said, we're just going to erase a couple of words here and say that, no, I actually am part of a gang from California. This is insane. It's an obvious lie, but the only point is to deport somebody who is a Latino. And look, the government would know if you're in a gang. In order to renew DACA status, you would have to undergo background checks, 2 thorough background checks. And Ramirez did. And guess what they found? No evidence of gang affiliation. None. Well, the only thing that ICE had, the only piece of evidence that they continue to go back to and present, is a tattoo on Ramirez's forearm that consisted of a nautical star and the words La Paz, BCS, which represent his birthplace, the city of La Paz in Baja, California. Now, ICE kept pointing to that tattoo and saying, that's a gang tattoo. He's definitely a gang member. But wait a minute, that's ridiculous. For one, no gang members actually had that particular tattoo. And 2 different immigration judges happen to agree with that, as well as gang expert Martin Flores. Now, Flores says, quote, he had never seen a gang member with a similar tattoo, nor would he attribute this tattoo to have any gang-related meaning. There was another gang expert, Edwina Barbosa, who declared that there is no apparent evidence that Ramirez has ever been a gang member or has ever been a gang member himself. Carlos Casilla, a Mexican researcher who has also studied gangs, stated that this tattoo does not show any gang affiliation. ICE agents didn't care. They probably looked at those experts and said, oh, come on, man. I mean, they're all Mexican anyway. You think they're not going to tell me the truth? Come on. Of course they're not going to tell me the truth. They're Mexican. They're protecting your own. It's just the same kind of mentality that Donald Trump had with the lawyer that ruled against him in the Trump case. Or, I'm sorry, in the Trump University case. Oh, well, he's Mexican. Of course he's not going to side with me. Racism, straight up. Now, look, Judge Martinez is a George W. Bush appointee, by the way. He's not an Obama appointee. He is a George W. Bush appointee. And he wrote this. ICE's conclusory findings have been contradicted by experts and other evidence. The government produced no evidence to contradict multiple experts' testimony discrediting ICE's bizarre interpretation of Ramirez's tattoo. And its claims are completely contradictory to the government's own previous findings after extensive background checks that were meant to uncover evidence of known or suspected gang affiliation. Most troubling to the court is the continued assertion that Mr. Ramirez is gang affiliated, despite providing no evidence specific to Mr. Ramirez to the immigration court in connection with his administrative proceedings, and offering no evidence to this court to support its assertions 4 months later. Not only that, but Martinez concluded that ICE had violated Ramirez's rights by depriving him of his constitutionally protected liberty and property interests without due process of law. The judge also found that ICE had violated federal law by trying to take Ramirez's DACA status in a, quote, arbitrary and capricious manner without any rational explanation for its decision. So that is a judicial smackdown of epic proportions. And look, this also shows how far ICE is willing to go to try to deport somebody that they don't like. Again, He is Latino, and they're trying to find every single excuse, any excuse, to deport as many Latinos as they can, because the Trump administration has empowered them. And so, look, that's why ICE is basically the brown shirts of America now. They're the brown shirts of the Trump administration. They want to go around lying, and using spurious evidence to try to eliminate people who are different in this country, who are still here legally under the DACA program. But again, they don't believe in the DACA program. They don't agree with the DACA program. They think, oh no, it's just Obama amnesty. We got to get rid of these people. These people who have been in the United States for most of their lives, have jobs, careers, education, who pay taxes, who are here working legally. No, this is just, it's pure, flat out racism. It's gross. Now, thank goodness for the courts, right? Throughout this whole thing, the courts on immigration have consistently been a check on Trump. Without them, we'd have a Muslim ban that's unconstitutional. We would have DACA recipients being basically deported from the only home that they know. It would be a disaster for a great many people. So thankfully they're there. Thankfully they're there to be a check on Donald Trump for his wildly racist and horrific, inhumane immigration policies. And look, seeing ICE, knowing that ICE is doing this kind of stuff, it should make everybody sick to their stomach. Okay. All right, everybody. That's it, man. That's all I got. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. I appreciate that. Let me get out, shout out a couple of super chats here that I got during the show. Thank you for your support. Dashner writes, today I read that EU leaders are meeting to go over possible counters for future sanctions from the U.S. I do find it funny that Trump has not mentioned sanctions against Russia or China, though. Well, definitely not Russia. He will not... that's the thing, right? There are people out there that are like, no, he doesn't favor Russia at all. What are you talking about? Then why won't he enforce the sanctions? Why won't he talk about the sanctions? Why won't he... Look, Congress passed it. And they have enough to override a presidential veto. So Trump could veto the sanctions and Congress could say, nope, we all agree that we are going to sanction Russia for what they did. And whether or not you believe that that's the appropriate response is kind of moot at this point, because, look, they've already passed it and they could override a presidential veto, which means Donald Trump has no choice. He has to enforce those sanctions under current law. You want to change that? Change Congress. Okay? He still won't. He refuses to do that. I wonder why. I don't know. But anyway, Dashner, thank you for using Super Chat. That helps to support the show. Excellent points, of course. And thank you to everybody who has donated to the Super Chat. And thank you to the people who are also patrons as well. You guys are amazing. You make the show run. You make the show possible. So thank you all. All right, everybody. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have an excellent afternoon. And remember, change begins with you. Love you guys. Good night. We'll see y'all tomorrow.